Good morning and a woohoo to you on a Wednesday. It's rather dull here in London, but I think it's going to be nicer later on. I just wanted to jump on, talk a little bit about rehab. This has come up in a private conversation about something that popped up in a group that this particular person was a part of, and I just thought that this may be helpful to that person or to anybody who has wondered about rehab and to answer that age-old question, which is always something that people ask: does it work? And I'm going to say about rehab what I say about any program at all. Morning, Claire, is that there is no it. There is no particular thing that works in and of itself. It's about your attitude as the person who is going in to whatever the thing is, whether it's doing a program, whether it's going into a rehab center, whether it's going to work with anybody who is going to help you to make any changes in any area, whether that's business, whether it's relationship related, or in this case, when we're talking about rehab, whether it's to do with drugs or alcohol or anxiety or depression. And rehabs do deal with all of those things. But does it work is always the question that people ask. Well, did it work for me? Well, you can kind of look at it like that, but I don't, right? Was I in the right place for me at the right time to get the help that I needed to be able to then work on myself even more and understand that my addiction was nothing to do with willpower and it was nothing to do with the kind of person that I was? Did that happen for me in rehab? Yes, it did. So did I then carry on and decide, and I choose that word very carefully, and decide that I was then going to find out more about how my brain worked, about being able to change my language and my thinking? Yes, I did. But that was my attitude of gratitude that I was in that place, because for me, without rehab, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today, and I certainly wouldn't be able to help the amount of people that I can help. So did it work in that sense? I guess you could say it did. Is rehab the answer for everybody? No, it is not. But it is a very good starting point. And then what happens after rehab is the most important thing. Now, what I do know is when I was in rehab, they offered a program that continued for 12 months afterwards, an aftercare program. And those of us who embraced that and went on to that aftercare program, I believe did do a little better, and I can't say a lot better because I wasn't in touch with everybody, but better than those people who didn't, right? But I also chose to allow, and I'm really choosing my words carefully on purpose, I chose to allow someone else who knew better than me, i.e. the people who were running the rehab, to tell me what I needed to do. And I took that on board and I did it. Whether I enjoyed doing it, a lot of it I didn't, but I did it anyway, because these guys knew how to help me get free from my addictions and I didn't, right? And that's what I needed to be able to do and I wanted to do. Now, if somebody is in rehab because they feel, and again, words being chosen carefully here, the person feels they've been forced into it to please somebody else, it's not likely to, in inverted commas, work. Right? Because it's all about attitude of the person who is going in there. It's really difficult, and this is hard for families to take on board, but it's really difficult for families and the person who is struggling with this stuff themselves to even believe that they can live a life without it, especially if they don't have the evidence for ever being able to do that. And for me, I didn't have that evidence. I had always had issues with food from back as far as I can remember, being a tiny bod. I got drunk for the first time when I was 5 and I liked it, right? So did I remember a life where I was never not focusing on food or realizing that I looked different and I was chubbier and I wanted to change my size? No, I can't remember that. I didn't have the evidence. So when people talk about take yourself into imagination and imagine what it's like to not have these things, the honest truth is we can't. When we're in that state of mind, when we're in using, we can't imagine it. It's just way out of our scope of imagination, right? And some of us, and I'm one of them, I'm not very good at imagining things and make believe at all. Anyway, never have been. And if somebody says, think of a place that makes you happy, I always have to go into the past somewhere that I've been before. I can never imagine and create a picture of something. And I know some people can, and that's fantastic. But when you are stuck in using, and you're trying to encourage the person to imagine what life would be like without it. Well, I'm sorry, we can't. We don't have the skills, we don't have the power, we don't have the understanding, and we don't believe that it's possible for us. So, if anybody is worried about going to rehab, my suggestion is that you look at it as an opportunity to give yourself some space from using whatever it is that you've been using, because it gives your body and your brain a break, and embrace that. What will come up for you? Who knows? Because it's going to be different for everybody. Will you, as the person in rehab, probably get immensely cross, frustrated, want to act out, feel that it's being run in a crappily way, and that some of the people in there are not the people that you choose to hang around with? Yes, you will feel that, okay? But that's all right, because the point is you are in a place where you can have those feelings and you don't have to act out on them, but you can talk about them. And if it's a rehab that's run really, really well, then any issues that do come up with patients, and if there is kind of clashes of personalities, then that will also be something that's able to be addressed. So does rehab work? Look at it a different way. Will it help the person who is suffering to take a break and to start to learn a different way of thinking and being, and actually get some evidence that they can have a chunk of time where they are not using the substance? Yes, it will. Is it a miracle cure, and will they come out of rehab fixed? Absolutely not. That's a complete myth. The work starts when you come out and you've been in there for 30 days and you haven't touched the substance, because now we've got to keep that momentum going. And this is why what happens after rehab is crucially important. And this is why, from a family point of view, you need to not be coming out with some of the shit stuff that you were coming out with before. Right? You need to not be putting people under pressure and saying, well, now you've been in rehab, everything should be fine and you should be fixed. No, they will not be. So families, you have a massive role to play. It's very difficult for the person in the rehab to take on board the idea that they are actually responsible for being where they are. Right? That's really tough and really hard. And you need a really good support system. You need to have someone that you feel you can talk honestly to and openly to. So rehab is a start, but then it literally opens the door to what else is available in terms of a really great recovery. And what I'm going to say to people is, if you have got somebody going into rehab, or if you're thinking about it for yourself or for a family member, and you just want to chat to someone, I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you about my experience and about what are the sort of things you can do to help yourself if it's you, and what are the sort of things that you need to be very much aware of as a family member when that person comes out. I hope that's been helpful to somebody. And if it has, thank you very much for listening. Get in touch with me via LinkedIn or via my Facebook group or via my website, which is www.vickymidwood.com. And you can book in for a call with me on that site. Have a great Wednesday. Bye for now.